Hey, 8th graders. All right, we are on pages 55 and 56 from your math finder. It is called Math 8 Practice, System of Equations, Applications. So we are going to do problem number 1 together, and then I'm going to have you try a couple more on your own before I let you try a lot more on your own. So on problem number 1, it says that there are 12 animals in the barn. Some are chickens and some are goats. And hopefully you all know the difference between a chicken and a goat. If not, look it up on the internet. There are 36 legs in this barn. How many of each animal are there? You have enough information to figure out how many of each animal there are. So on each of these problems, you're going to start by setting x equal to the first unknown, and y will be the second unknown. Now, I always call the first unknown whatever the first thing was that they talked about. So it says some are chickens. They said that before they said the word goats, which is why x was chickens and y was goats. So let's write two linear equations knowing that we're talking about chickens and goats. So our first linear equation is going to have to do with this, let's see. Well, there's one thing I want to fix here. It says chickens. We're going to call that the number of chickens. It's a little bit more specific. And y is going to be the number of goats. So why the heck would they tell us about the number of legs in this barn? There are 36 legs in this barn. That's kind of something like sounds like what like a serial killer would say. Like there's this many legs in the room. Okay, weirdo. But what do we know about a chicken versus a goat? Well, how many legs does a chicken have? 2. And how many legs does a goat have? 4. Most chickens and legs have that number. Most chickens and goats have those numbers of legs. I understand that every once in a while there's a really sad animal that's got fewer or maybe more legs than those. So we're going to start with an equation that's completely about legs. I know that for every chicken, there are going to be 2 legs. So 2x. And then I know for every goat, there's going to be 4 legs. So I'm going to add on 4 times y. And then there are 36 legs in this barn, so that equals 36. For our second equation, there are 12 animals in the barn. Well, what type of animals are in the barn? Chickens and goats. Well, we know that we're saying that x is the chickens, y is the goats, so our second equation is just x plus y equals 12. It's a really simple equation. And in fact, what you're going to notice is all of these are going to have a really simple equation that add up to that total number of how many, whatever it is, there are. Okay, so we can't graph them until we have them solved for y. So I'm going to start using our handy dandy math skills. I'll begin by subtracting 2x from both sides of this equation. And then I have 4y equals negative 2x plus 36. All right, next step, I can divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. Okay, when I finish that, I've got y equals negative 2 divided by 4 is negative 1/2. And then the x is still there right after it. 36 divided by 4 is positive 9. There's my first equation. So I'm actually going to graph that down over here. But before I can do that, I've got to put some labels on the x and the y axis. I know that the x-axis is the number of chickens, and the y-axis is the number of goats. Okay, so when I start graphing these equations, I know that my first equation starts at positive 9. I put a dot there, and it's going down 1 space to the right 2. Down 1 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 to the right 2. And that is all that I could fit there. So I'm going to connect those dots. And our second equation, let's solve for y. I'll begin by subtracting x from both sides of this equation. And I've got, I'm actually going to write it down here, y equals negative x plus 12. So I can put my first dot at positive 12, and it's telling me to go down 1 to the right 1, 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 bam, that's where they're going to cross. Down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. If it sounds annoying, it means you're doing it correctly. Okay, connect those dots. Perfect. All right, so where did they cross? Well, the coordinates for that solution are to the right 6 chickens up 6 goats. So 6 comma 6. But again, we've got to put that in like real words. So we're going to say 6 chickens, like I said a moment ago, because we have to go to the right where it says 6 on the chicken side. And then there were 6 goats. Okay, so let's check that solution. We always go back to this original equation up here. So instead of 2x plus 4y equals 36, that's going to be 2 times 6 chickens plus 4 times 6 goats equals 36. I shouldn't have written so large, but I was apparently super excited about that. So I've got 2 times 6 plus 4 times 6, and I've got 36 equals 36. That is a true statement, so it gets a check mark. Our second checking the solution, instead of x plus y equals 12, it's going to be 6 plus 6 equals 12. Well, you know that that does equal 12. So they're both correct. That means I get to move on. If you get an incorrect thing there, it would mean that you'd have to stop, figure out what you did wrong, and work from there. Okay, so let's look at this second example. Number 2, a farmhouse shelters 11 animals. Some are horses and some are geese. Altogether, there are 26 legs. How many of each animal are there? What I want you to do first is I want you to do this X and the Y part. And then actually, let's make sure that we all put the same ones. What did they list first? Was it horses or goats? Horses. So X is going to be the number of horses. And Y is going to be the number of goats. All right, please write both of your equations and solve both of the equations for Y. I want you to push pause on your screen, write your equations, solve them for Y. All right, you should be coming back to me now after you have finished writing these equations. I know that there are 4 legs per horse, so I'm gonna say 4x. I know that there are 4 legs per goat, right? Oh my gosh. It wasn't a goat, was it? Dun, 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 the erasing of shame. Yeah, goats do have 4 legs, but it didn't say goat. What did it say? Goose. Number of gooses, geeses. I'm gonna go with geese because that sounds right. Please don't email me and tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't care if I said that wrong. Okay, this is gonna be better because there are 4 legs per horse and there are 2 legs per geese, bird with big wings. Okay, story time. I was looking at a house the other day and I opened a cupboard, I'm not joking, and inside was the entire wing of a goose. No, it wasn't like a fancy fake one. It was just like a real ripped off wing of a goose. So I'm pretty sure I went through the house of a serial killer. And it was really frightening. And I shut the door quietly and you can ask Mr. Bolley, it was real. He was there and it was super frightening. And part of me died a little bit on the inside because birds are really frightening when they're dead. Okay, anyway, confession, I feel better now. Let's finish this equation. So how many legs were there? Speaking of serial killers. Okay, there were 26 legs. The other equation is gonna be the simple one. There are 11 animals. So that means add up the horses plus the geese and you have 11. Okay, let's solve these things. I subtract 4x from both sides on this first equation, and I have 2y equals negative 4x plus 26. Last step, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And my final equation is y equals negative 2x plus 13. On this other equation, all I have to do is subtract x from both sides. And I have y equals negative x plus 11. So let me get those graphed. Actually, I want you to graph them and figure out where they cross. You can actually finish off this problem and then we'll check in just a second. So finish this problem and then check because I'm going to go over it once you push play again. All right, you should be back. Here's the thing that a lot of people forget. The labels. Hopefully you remembered the labels. Our x-axis is number of horses and our y-axis is number of gooses. I know, I wrote gooses. Okay, so let's go here. We're gonna start at positive 13, and I know it's bothering some of your souls that I wrote gooses. It's okay, you'll make it. We're going down 2 to the right 1 because that's what our slope told us to do. All right, I'm gonna connect these dots. And it looks like this. All right, my next equation starts at positive 11, and it's going down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. Bam, that's where they're gonna cross. Down to the right, down to the right, down to the right, down to the right. Keep going, almost to the end. If you're wondering why I'm singing so much, it's because I'm obnoxious. All right, where is our solution? To the right 2, up 9. So 2 comma 9. What does that mean? Well, I went 2 to the right on the horse's side. So there were 2 horses. And then I went 9 up on the goose's side. So there were 2 gooses. I'm sticking with it now. Let's check our solutions there. I'm going back to the original equation. So 4x plus 2y equals 26. That's really going to be 4 times 2 plus 2 times 9 for our y value equals 26. All right, 4 times 2 plus 2 times 9. And I get 26 equals 26. True statement. Moving on to the other check. The other check, instead of x plus y equals 11, I've got 2 plus 9 equals 11. Well, 2 plus 9 is 11, so also true. Okay, 8th graders, you are going to try all of problem number 3, and then we are going to start going through it. Now, if you get really stuck on it, you can like watch part of the video to help you get caught up, but I want you to try to get all of this done on your own because you're going to be doing the whole back of this paper on your own. So do your best on this one. All right, now let's start going through it. Molly spent $54 on eating utensils. That's a really funny thing to call it. Spoons cost $5 and forks cost $6. She bought a total of 10. How many of each kind did she buy? Okay, so let's look at what we know here. We know how much money she spent. We know how much money a spoon is and a fork is. So let's write an equation that has to do with money. But before I do that, spoons was listed first. So we're going to say X is the number of spoons. A really weird word to say. If you replace the S in spoons with an F, spoons, it's very difficult. I don't know why, but I used to work I used to work at Noodles and Company, which is kind of fast food. And I would like get bored sometimes, so I'd sit there and try to say that word out loud as many times as I could to try to get it perfect. So if you're ever feeling bored, try saying F-P-O-O-N. You'll thank me. It's a pretty fun word to try to say. Spoon. Okay. Anyway, number of spoons, and then Y is going to be the number of forks. Okay, we know a spoon is $5, so we're gonna say 5x. And we know a fork is $6 because obviously forks are far superior to spoons. And this equals $54 altogether. The second equation is always the simpler one. It'll add up to how many utensils we have. And there are 10 utensils, so x plus y equals 10. All right, let's start solving our first equation. Subtract 5x from both sides of this equation. And I have 6y equals negative 5x plus 54. Then I can divide by 6, divide by 6, divide by 6. And once I did that, I have y equals negative 5/6 x plus 54 divided by 6 is positive 9. On the other equation, I can subtract x from both sides, and I get y equals negative x plus 10. Don't forget to label the x and the y-axis. X is going to be the number of spoons. Y is going to be the number of forks. And when I go to graph this thing, I've got y equals negative 5/6 plus 9. So I start with my first dot at positive 9. I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't actually do it a second time. So hopefully it crosses at either this point or this point. I have a feeling it's gonna be the second one. Okay, let's connect these dots. Okay, and our second equation starts at 10, and we are going down one to the right one, 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 down one to the right one. There it is, down one to the right one, down one to the right one. These all look like they cross, but they don't. It's just because I drew it poorly. Those are very, very similar lines. Wow, those slopes. Okay, so let's check that coordinate. That coordinate is at 6, 4. And let's interpret that solution. 6 is on the spoon side. So 6 spoons and 4 forks. That's a really fun coincidence. Okay, when I check my solution, I have, back to my original equations, instead of 5x, that's going to be 5 times 6 plus 6 times 4 equals 54. That is 30 plus 24, which is 54, equals 54. For our other equation, we've got x plus y, so that's going to be 6 plus 4, and we need it to equal 10, which, lucky for us, 6 plus 4 does equal 10. So both of them work, both of them are proper solutions. Your job now, you are finishing the entire back of this paper, and each problem that you do, you are going to check them because I will have the solutions ready for you on the, like, do this part second thing. Okay, good luck, 8th graders. Yeah. Sorry I told you about the goose story.